here we go. This is episode 7, and episode 7 is going to cover the concept of shifting. Now, I have a previous video on the channel called Shifting is Everything that my partner did. Very good, very informative. But I'm going to go a little more into detail as far as how to actually do the shift and why you do the shift and so forth, and the reasons behind this form of development with it. So up until now, you spent assuming you're taking Wing Chun. Up until now, you've basically been stagnant. You open up your stance, everything from your punch to your form has no motion. Okay, and let me stress this right now: standing in motion, working on controlling your center takes a long time to develop, and do not neglect the importance of that. I cannot stress that enough, that people open up their stance and think that's it, that's all there is, and next thing you know, they're on the ground. Why? Because people spend their time worrying about how to do attacks and defense and so forth. Everything is based off the stance. So the better your stance is, the stronger you are, especially the way our art concentrates on pure structure. Okay? So let's go into the details of shifting. Okay? First, how do we shift and how do we do it? So first, we open up our Ichikimima. Okay, open up the 4 motions that I've talked about before in Ichikimima. You should feel your center. You should feel feel control of your center. Be aware of your center. Do not start out practicing day 1 of shifting without having some form. If you test your stance and you can't even hold it, go back, practice your stance more before you even attempt to practice some shifting. Okay. Now, how do we do shifting? Let's do the how part, and I'll explain the why and all the other gadgety stuff involved with it later. So first of all, in order to do shifting, just like how the elbow led the motion to do the punch, the knees basically lead the motion to do the shift. Shifting is footwork. There are a total of 16 footwork in Wing Chun, and the shift itself is a mother motion for all the footwork. Every kind of footwork that you do has some form of shift involved in it. So this is basically the development of your footwork. And shifting is literally saying any kind of footwork that you do, and shifting is one of them. Any type of footwork you do is basically saying, here's your Ichikimima stance. Now I'm going to show you how to move it in any direction based off the footwork. And in time, once you get that concept down, how to control the center from moving forward, backward, side to side, once you do that and have full control of it, that's the development aspect. Then you can move naturally with it, and you don't have to look so robotic when you're practicing it. So, I'm in my stance. What I want to do first is, let me show you exactly how a shift looks like. I'm in my center, and I turn. Boom. I turn one side, I turn one side, I turn another side. And that's basically what shifting is like. It looks easy, but there's a concept involved with it. I said the knees lead the motion, but how exactly do the knees lead the motion? One knee helps the other knee to actually move. Just like in walking. When you walk, it's not just, if you really think about how you walk, it's not just one leg by itself that's self-powered, that stretches out and the other leg follows afterwards. If you actually look at the actual motion mechanics of how a step occurs, this leg may move forward, but this leg is what? Pushing backwards in order to balance it off evenly. So otherwise you're going to step like this. Okay? No, your natural walking motion has a push and a step with it, right? Opposite motion. So that also says the same thing here. I need something to generate this power in order for me to shift. So this knee helps this knee in order for me to shift. Now, keeping that in mind, in order to connect the lower body or the lower triangle with the upper triangle, that involves a tuck. When you tuck in, that connects the 2 triangles together. So if I shift like this, my butt's stuck out like this and I shift, notice my body doesn't follow it at all. But if I tuck in, like I'm just tucked in right now, and I just naturally shift, the body automatically follows and turns with it. That's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to see a lag in your shift where it looks like this. Okay? I'm like obviously exaggerating, but it shouldn't look like that much of a lag. It should be, once it starts moving, you're naturally moving with it. Okay? Hopefully that gives you an idea as far as what I'm doing. So here, the knees, one pushes the other, make sure the body's connected, and you turn. The maximum turn that I'm doing is a 45-degree angle. 45. Why is that? With the 45-degree angle, if I stand in my Ichikimima, I'm shoulder width apart. If I shift, look at my arms, shoulder to the waist, it's still a 45-degree angle. If I shift more beyond that point, my arms is smaller now and the width of my feet is narrow. And then once that happens, your structure is basically gone. Okay? So that's why the maximum shift that you want to do is 45. 45 on both sides. Anything beyond that, you're going to lose the structure of your overall Yichikimima. A couple of rules to remember that should help you when you practice your shift. If you remember these rules, I guarantee you, you're screwing up somewhere, and if you're aware of it, you can fix it up. Rule number 1, 50-50, shoulder width apart. Okay? Shoulder width apart. Okay? That means I go here, just like I talked about, this is shoulder width apart. Shoulder width apart. Anything beyond that point, too little, and I'm going to topple over, less than shoulder width apart. Rule number 2, be 50-50, weight distribution. Why? It's natural. You can practice all kinds of stance, 100-0, 70-30, 60-40, whatever you want. But when you can say, when the shit hits the fan and it's time to fight, basically, what happens? When that really happens and you actually engage, in the real fight situation, all the stances that you practice will never come out that way. If you try to force a certain stance in a fight situation, you're going to lose. That's technique based, and in a real fight situation, that will work. In a tournament, you might be able to pull it off because it's different, but in a real fight situation, my opinion, it won't work. Okay? So what do we say? Shoulder width apart and 50-50. Rule number 3, don't look down. Right? If you shift, don't look down. By the time you look down, what happens? If you look from the side, here's my center right here. When I look down, I'm already offsetting my center. You want to have the perfect center here and then shift. Okay? So it's very natural to want to check your stance in the beginning. What I suggest is, if you shift, fine, shift. And if you want to check and look down, then look down after the fact when you shift. Okay? That's 3 rules. Rule number 4, shift on the heel. Shift on the heel, but keep in mind that the distribution of the weight is even. Okay? If I two things. If I put all my weight on the heel and I lift my feet up like this, see how I'm shifting? Like this. Notice I'm already rocking myself back and forth. So that's no good either. You want to be able to balance the weight up. If I shift on my toes, look at my center. If I draw a straight line here, I shift on my center, look, my center moves out of place. That's no good either. Center should be exactly in place when you shift. Okay, and it takes a while to be able to develop that. The rule with the basics of shifting, depending on the sport and depending on your shoes, it can be difficult in the beginning. So a lot of times I suggest go on the floor, put on some socks, and just get comfortable with the shift motion first. All right. Rule number 5: don't bounce. Don't go like this. Okay, you're not doing kickboxing. You're controlling your center evenly each time. You're not hopping up and down to do that. Okay, you want smooth, even motion when you shift. All right, full control of your center every single time when you do that. And if you remember those rules, they'll basically help you to correct any mistakes that you do. Okay. What else is there? Actually, we can go further into detail with that. When you shift, okay, when you shift, when I'm standing in place to shift, and I shift in this direction, once I shift in an angle, you want to take your time and actually check it. So don't shift and then just go next fast. Shift first, especially in the beginning. Shift and check your stance. Right? See, I adjust my stance a little. Shift. Oops, I'm leaning. Check your stance again. Right? Remember all the stuff I told you to check your Yichikimima should come into play. Shift. Check your stance. See? So, just like how I said, every single thing, you gotta be diligent about what you do. Don't just do it. Don't say, I've got an hour, I'm gonna practice shifting for an hour. You gotta know what you're doing and do it correctly. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. Everything we do in training is efficient, and if you're just trying to shift to burn calories, that's no good. Right? Hopefully, this gives you an idea as far as how we shift, how to properly shift. And actually, probably our next video, we're going to be starting to get into more footworks, different kind of footworks. There's 16 footwork total in Wing Chun. I've shown you number 1, that's the basics of shift. And then I think we'll go further into that. So, and then once that footwork is done, then we'll actually get into phase 1 of single sticky hands. Alright, hopefully this helps. If you have questions, ask, and continue training.